The IMF has been hacked. With us to discuss this latest attack and what it means to the war against cyber criminals is Andy Purdy. He is the chief cybersecurity strategist at the Computer Sciences Corporation. He is in Washington this morning. Andy, we understand that these attackers were backed by a foreign government. So how, if you were advising the IMF, should it respond?
Well, the IMF is chartered by the United Nations. So the multilateral capabilities of the United Nations, supplemented by the law enforcement capabilities of Interpol and perhaps the FBI, can help try to identify who specifically was behind these attacks and pursue the various avenues internationally to seek some redress.
Now, you make the case, Andy, that international law was breached here. If, in fact, you are correct, and if I'm understanding it, it's the Budapest Convention that was breached, what does that mean? What powers does that invest the IMF with, or Interpol, or the FBI, or anybody else for that matter?
Well, unfortunately, if this was an attack against a major corporation in any of the countries covered that are signatories to the Budapest Convention, it would provide redress against those countries. The IMF, being an international organization chartered by the United Nations, makes it a much more complicated question. It's by no means clear exactly what can be done based on the international convention at this point, other than pursuing the traditional law enforcement activities to try to find out who's behind it and then identify whatever capabilities there are in the international community to go against that country. Certainly some of the countries that have been suspected in this, such as China, are not signatories in the Budapest Convention, so that's a negative.
Are you saying that you, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but should we consider China to be among the chief suspects here? And if so, if it's not just China, what other countries would you throw onto that list?
Well, we have to investigate further, and the investigation that's been conducted, very little of it has come out. So we want to be careful not to draw conclusions that aren't based on fact. There are nations in the world that have sophisticated capabilities to do this, such as China, Russia, and some others. But I wouldn't want to start pointing the finger of blame at any of those until we have more information.
Andy, this is just the latest. It's not just the latest attack, but it's also the latest attack the public is finding out weeks after it happened. This attack, we understand, took place before the allegations and arrest of Dominique Strauss-Kahn. Why is it that it's taking so long for people to find out about these breaches? And what does it say, or what should it say about our confidence in the organizations that are being attacked?
Well, I think a number of these cases, the organizations, I think Citi last week has disclosed that they learned of the breaches quite some time ago. The nature of the advanced persistent threat, these more sophisticated attackers, is such that they're using a low and slow approach to gain access, to gain privilege, then to escalate to get access and privilege from other people. So it's part of the threat that it's a long-term, slow activity. In the report that Mike did earlier, he's talking about the fact that some of the information may have been encrypted, so it makes it hard to see it. He's touching on one of the most important aspects of finding out about these kinds of conducts, and that is to monitor and filter the outbound traffic, because you can tell that certain kinds of things are going to certain places in certain quantities that they shouldn't be. It hasn't been emphasized, but a number of these significant attacks have been discovered by looking at the outbound traffic. Even if it's encrypted, you can tell it's going to a place it shouldn't be going.
So we shouldn't be disheartened, concerned, alarmed by the fact that it takes weeks to find out that something happened.
We should be concerned that what we are beginning to hear in the news is the tip of the iceberg of a problem that's been going on for a long time. Many organizations have been resting comfortably thinking that they were safe, when in fact they may have been penetrated a long time ago, and most organizations have been. So folks have to take a much more systematic, architectural, strategic approach to looking at their systems, analyzing them against standards, and using key analysis and threat information to see whether they've been harmed, even if they don't know it yet.
Andy, thanks as always for joining us here on the Inside Track. Andy Purdy, CSC's chief cybersecurity strategist. He was with us from Washington to talk about the hack at the IMF.